Donald Trump is still a free man and essentially has what amounts to a white collar ticket coming his way. Everything collapsed. Every one of their cases against, nobody even talks about Georgia anymore. That they're just going to let that one ride because they're not going to be able to get it done before the election.
Yeah, exactly. And now RFK Jr. might allegedly be dropping out on Friday and endorsing Trump. That's the scuttlebutt.
Yeah, let's actually.
I'm sure you've probably gotten like 20 fucking news tips just about this one story.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's open up with it. So that is the report. I think they've floated out this whole. RFK reached out to Kamala to join the thing, and then suddenly RFK's VP was on a podcast and just basically nonchalantly was like, well, I don't know. I guess maybe we'll join Trump. And
this follows in the wake of the running mate there. I can't even remember her name because who cares?
She's using her money, I think.
You remember his abortion comments.
Yeah,
when he came out and said, "Well, I think that it should be legal at any stage," or something to that effect.
Tragedy.
No, that's not what he meant. That's not what he meant, everyone.
Yeah.
It seems like they were actually trying to run a real campaign, which is inexplicable because you're starting at like 5%. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it's if you go back and as Styx, you're far more expert on it than I am. But it's like any one of these basically every third party, and I support third parties, fourth parties, fifth parties, sixth parties. I support all of that. It seems like once the momentum fades, then they look to make a deal every time.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah, that's the whole point. And RFK waited a little too long. I think like he was at peak. He had like peak momentum a couple weeks ago. He's dropping in the polls. Nobody thinks he's a serious candidate. Every time he opens his mouth, I mean, something, bad comes out. And it's just, I think that his VP was like, hey man, did you kill any other more, cute little animals and the pictures are going to come out? Like you're screwing this up for both of us. So they basically,
I think it's a tale of reabsorption, which is that it was inevitable that his support was going to meander off into the direction of campaigns that could actually be elected. Mm. And this is something that I predicted months ago. It's happened before. This isn't the first time. I think if he drops and endorses Trump, though, it is meaningful. Is it a large number of voters? No. Is it a meaningful number of voters? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how I feel. Here's why. I don't know if you watch these shows, but like the comedy scene, like when you're young and apolitical, it's kind of hip to just embrace the third party. And it's really like, I'm embracing the third party instead of admitting I'm not actually following anything. It's like, oh, I'm a Bernie Sanders guy because they're both bad. And then they don't really know anything about his policies.
I was one of them.
Yeah,
so were you probably.
I was too. Yeah, exactly. When you're 18, you're like, yeah, well, this guy, they're both bad. Who's the third party guy? Ron Paul. I'm big, or whatever, the case may be.
Oh, Ron Paul actually would.
Ron Paul is good. Yeah. But I think that it's more meaningful than I thought it was 2 weeks ago after the Joe Rogan endorsement. Because if you have a lot of apolitical normies that are like the Joe Rogan endorsement. So if Joe Rogan, who likes RFK endorses Trump, Joe Rogan will talk about it on his podcast. And
everyone will be talking about it.
Yeah. At first I thought, like you said, it's not like 5%. It's not like 2-3 million votes, maybe. But
that's depending on where they're coming from. That's still meaningful.
Dude, exactly. 10,000 votes in Wisconsin could flip it.
You have people in these swing states that are undecided because they're getting bombarded with ads over and over and over again. That's going to be disproportionately where you're going to find those votes, I think, in the competitive states.
Yeah, and I think, credit to RFK, in terms of third-party candidates, other than Ross Perot in our lifetime, he's gotten probably the most momentum. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Like, Perot had like 8 or 9%, I think, at one point, right? He
Yeah,
was up
RFK
there.
is at like 5.
Yeah,
That's actually pretty good for a third partyist.
yeah, he's got some value. And also, like, obviously, there are a lot of places I wouldn't want Trump to put him, but I wouldn't hate having him in charge of the FDA. I wouldn't hate having him in charge of big pharma.
Put him in charge of the intel agencies. Let him rip them to shreds.
Yeah, put him in charge.
And demand all the papers about his dad and his uncle and how they were killed.
Right. They would just, Trump would just say, here you go. Here's your top secret clearance. Spend the next 4 years tearing them apart. And like,
that would be so legendary.
I know. And I think RFK would be like, okay, I don't think RFK was ever really a serious political candidate.
No.
He had no real policies other than big pharma bad, which we all agree on. And like,
jab. We can't talk too much about on a YouTube live stream.
Yeah, and if you look at like, in Wisconsin, there are a lot of swing votes, third party votes. When Trump won in 2016, or you could say Hillary lost, it was like by the margin of the third party candidate, Jill Stein. You know what I mean? Like the Green Party gobbles up enough votes in some of these tight swing states that you could literally swing the entire election. I don't want to overstate it, but I also think RFK endorsement is, like you said, it's substantial. It's positive press. And if it comes on Friday, it's going to completely erase the cacklementum from the DNC. Yeah. It'll just dominate the news cycle over the weekend.
And keep in mind, with RFK out, I mean, he may be an anti-gunner and stuff like that. He is a liberal. But with him endorsing Trump potentially, we're not 100% sure about whether this will actually happen, but it does look likely. Who are the other also-rans? Cornel West is the left-wing candidate for the intelligentsia. Yeah. Jill Stein is the left-wing candidate for the activistic non-intelligentsia.
Yep.
And so you don't have a right-wing also. Mitt Romney is not in the race.
Yeah, I think that and I think that RFK probably has a nice chunk of undecideds, and apolitical people who need to be told who to vote for. And I do believe that there are people that are true believers in RFK. And I welcome them with open arms, with arms wide open. Like, come on in.
With arms wide open.
Yeah, we can all just talk about big pharma bad. We don't have to talk about 2A. You can, RFK can have a job, over the intelligence agency or FDA.
Yes, put him in a spot where he does a lot of damage to the uniparty.
Yeah,
that would be putting him like RFK Jr. He's now the head of the FBI or something.
Right? Yeah, just throw a grenade in there and walk away. Like, here you go. Here's the keys. Have fun. And
Trump would be smirking ear to ear at that.
Yeah, and then he doesn't have to deal with them. He's not in front of the camera. He can just go in there and dismantle. I think it's good. I think the spinoff. I think the indirect Joe Rogan saying positive things about him, and if he comes out and says Trump, I think it moves Trump 1 to 2 points nationally. I think
3 to 4.
To 2. 3 or 4 would be even better. I mean, that would be. I mean, that would be a dream scenario.
I think that dream may very well become reality, actually.
I think that the market, at least we've talked about this before, and as always, we will say the betting markets and the polls are directional at best.
And right now overloaded with chaos. The polls right now are completely meaningless.
Yeah, and if you look, they really haven't been updating. But one thing I want to say is, like, when people are like, "Oh, Trump pulled ahead again in the poly market thing." Look,
that's like, who cares?
Who cares, right? Talk to me when if you look at the graph. Talk to me when it's like where it was in July, where basically everybody agreed that Trump was going to win. Trump was at 71% chance.
Well, it's going back up for a reason, because everyone expects Kamala to fuck up.
Yeah, he cratered at 44. That was like a recent low. And now he's up to 52, I think. Talk to me when he's over 60, 65, 70. Then I'll give a damn about poly market. I think the market's starting to adjust for the RFK endorsement. I think if he gets an RFK endorsement, my dog will be very happy about it. Huh. Hey. The other
Somebody
interesting-
wants a petting.
Yeah. The other interesting thing about this poll, though, is when you look at Cackling Kamala, again, directionally only. I mean, she had peaked at nearly a 54% chance, and at that point, there was a 10-point spread between the two. But now she's at 47, and she's falling.
She's going to keep falling. And that's because people understand the more Kamala Harris is exposed, like they decided to skip the planned Fox News debate.
Yeah.
Kamala chickened out.
Yeah, the more Kamala talks, the worse she gets. I would not be surprised if you saw her betting odds in the low 40s by the end of the month, and then Trump back in the 60s and 70s by the end of September. This is what we've said, as always. This is a no, as Styx says, this is a no black pill. This is a no black pill zone here, and
it's like,
yeah, hey, good boy. Yeah, this is a no black pill zone, and we've been saying it out there. We're not above tooting our own horns. We've been saying this. Everybody.
We've both been trying to warn people. Look, Kamala is a flash in the pan. Her ground game's not terribly great. I mean, for Democratic candidates, it's not on the same order of Obama.
Yeah.
She's not likable. Yeah, there's not only no enthusiasm, but there's no personality.